All right, fellas, let's go on and move over. We'll stay in the NFL, though. We got Trevor Lawrence to talk about. The much maligned Trevor Lawrence sweepstakes has come to a close. The New York Jets won their last two games and knocked off the Rams. And then I don't remember who else they beat this weekend, but it was great because they won. The Browns. They beat the Browns without any of their receivers. That's right. And meanwhile, the Jaguars continued on their trajectory, and it has now been solidified. No matter how the last Week 17 goes, the Jaguars now hold the number one overall pick and will likely select Trevor Lawrence, assuming he declares for the draft. So this has obviously been a big topic. There's been talk of tanking and changing the lottery, and if he would have been better off in New York, better off in Jacksonville. Should he hide? Should he fake his own death? I mean, I don't know. There's all kinds of storylines with it. So we'll just go ahead and open it up, Jay. What do you Jaguars got the pick, Jets missed out. What do you think about it?
I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta be off topic here. I meant to get this in the first segment, but since you brought up the Browns and then no wide receivers, anybody who out there crying about the Browns not having no wide receivers and playing against the Jets, if you were silent and turned a blind eye to when the Denver Broncos had zero quarterbacks, I don't want to hear from you. If you are one of those people, I hope your internet gets cut out for the next 3 months. I hope you don't get no stimulus checks. That's how serious this is. I don't want to hear about it.
Oh, not the stimmy.
You played.
You didn't take the stimmy.
You played. I hope. Okay, how about this? I hope you get $600, not the $2,000 they're trying to get now.
Okay.
I hope. Okay. Listen, the New York. You couldn't beat the New York Jets. The Jets don't have wide receivers either. They don't have plenty of positions they don't have, and we quarterbacks, wide receivers. It's different. Now, Trevor Lawrence. I think the fact that Trevor Lawrence. First of all, to get to the point of whether it's the Jaguars, whether it's the Jets, because it's those two teams, should he go back to Clemson or should he go to the next football league that tries to open up business next year? No, Trevor Lawrence, if he wants to come out and play football in the NFL, if he wants to do it next year, just come out and do it. It shouldn't be regardless of any team. You're in this position because you are thought so highly of, and when you're this kind of prodigy and just the consistent number one overall pick, you get the pleasure of going to some team that stinks. That's how this works. And the thing about it is, I think Jacksonville actually securing the number one overall pick, I think that could work to Trevor Lawrence's benefit for a couple reasons. I think the New York market. I think that's tough for any player. Sam Darnold, he struggled with it a little bit right now. And we know, especially with the Jets are just, they're a second tier organization. They don't have any clue really what they're doing. I mean, they got one owner who he's supposed to be the ambassador to somebody. His brother runs the team. He doesn't really know what's going on. You got Adam Gase gets hired and he's at the press conference and people think he's high on something, looking at flies in the room. We don't know. You got Greg Williams out here. He's over here mad because the Browns didn't let him coach the team. They let a kitchen come in there and do it. And now he's over here. He's calling mid blitz when he should call man up 3 deep. It's just ridiculous. They have all these things going on. They can't do anything right at all. Now, I'm not saying that Jacksonville isn't any better, but at least you don't have the New York market and the New York media, which are going to be in your face each and every day. You're going to have all that national attention. And even as good as you think Trevor Lawrence may or may not be, he's not. I don't think he's coming in day one and fixing the New York Jets by himself. He's not bringing Dabo with him. He's not. I mean, T. Higgins ain't coming there. You don't have Justin Ross, Travis Etienne, unless they get lucky and they get him in the second round. He ain't coming. It's going to be a tall order. So with just the amount of attention that he's going to get, and the number one pick is going to come with that attention regardless, but it's going to be more centered and it's just going to be just amplified being in New York. It's not going to be that way in Jacksonville. And just Jacksonville fans, I mean, they'll accept anything. You come in there and you go about 5-11 next year, they will think it's the next best thing smoking. The one thing I would be concerned about if I'm Trevor Lawrence, the only thing I'd be concerned about going to Jacksonville, you need to get your agent and get him on the phone with people in Jacksonville, and you need to get on the phone with the owner and be like, listen, Shad Khan, you took one step forward of cleaning up this clown show. You got Mr. Caldwell out of there. You fire then Cody can jump in if you want to keep Keenan McCardell, maybe some of these legacy dudes who got some pull in the
That's
community.
about it. You covered
That's
it
it.
all. That's
Okay.
it.
Everybody else. Mall Dad Doug, Jay Gruden, Ben McAdoo with his hair product. Everybody out.
Forget Todd Wash.
Todd Wash, that defensive coordinator who is so bad. Oh, there is not verbiage in the English language that can describe how bad he is. They all have to go. You have to get someone else, some new, young, innovative offensive mind. I don't care who it is. Get this man Eric Bieniemy down there so we can get more diversity. Give me something. Give me something, because this whole trifecta, this holy trinity that they thought would work for some reason with Doug Marrone, Jay Gruden, and Ben McAdoo, it's terrible, and it's not going to work. You have to completely redo this thing, just like I said they should last year when you had them free agent reports about people. You know what? Tom Coughlin and his regime was so oppressive and ridiculous that now the NFL Players Association said, do not come to Jacksonville. And you know how bad it got, right? That you got Cody down here in an utter rejoicing about the great signing of one Joe Schobert. That's how bad it was. That's nice. Your big headlining free agent acquisition. You have to redo everything, get all the coaches out of here and bring in a whole new regime. Young, like, I don't know, anybody that's young and has any type of innovation that can come along with them, get some young blood in there, just like your quarterback. And listen, it's Jacksonville. They got a pool. They got low expectations. It ain't gonna take that much to get some positive energy in there, and that's about it. I think going to Jacksonville, I think it's gonna be fine for Trevor Lawrence. I really do.
So yeah, to piggyback off what Jay was saying about the pro and cons of New York and Jacksonville, I'm not gonna go through, but I'm gonna tell you he right on with that media. He right on with that. And another thing I want to add is the weather. Here's the deal. Trevor Lawrence is from Cartersville, Georgia, right? So
right. 5 hours away.
So he has been, and he went to Clemson. Now Clemson can get a little cold because it's in the mountains, but for the most part, it's a warm weather area. And then he plays in the ACC. Yeah, they might get a frosty night in Boston College, a little frisky one in Syracuse, but for the most part, when he's playing, down the southern part of the ACC, pretty nice weather. Going to Jacksonville, what do you know? Pretty nice weather. What else comes with Jacksonville if he go there? Most likely Urban Meyer or Dan Mullins, from what I hear. So they've been talking back and forth a little bit. We know Dan Mullins used to be Urban Meyer's offense coordinator back in the old glory Tim Tebow days and the Percy Harvin days and all that. So they have a rekindle. For all I know, maybe Dan Mullins go be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. Dan Mullins did say this. He said in 5 years, college football would not be the same. I don't know exactly what he meant by that because he didn't dive into it. It seems like he sees something coming that's going to be detrimental. So he's already looking towards the NFL. We know Urban Meyer pedigree. Urban Meyer is not coming back for a college job unless it's like Texas or USC, something glamorous, right? He wants an NFL job. What's the best way to sell Trevor Lawrence? Hey, Trevor, you can come to Jacksonville and we're going to bring in Urban Meyer. All right, sign me up. Because without a doubt, Trevor Lawrence is familiar with what Urban Meyer do. Everybody in college football is familiar with Urban Meyer do. You know what I'm saying? He's one of those guys that came in, put his thumbprint in the SEC, put his thumbprint in the Big Ten, put his thumbprint in whatever conference, I think it was Mountain West or whatever Utah was part of back in the day. So we know who he is. So I think Jacksonville getting this number one pick was just better overall for everybody than New York. Because first of all, you don't want to deal with the media. Then you don't want to deal with the lack of leadership they got going up there. And then the weather. Oh, by the way, now you got to, instead of you getting this nice swimming pool you got in Jacksonville, you got to go share the stadium with the Giants. Oh, my God. So, it's a lot. You dive into this and you actually pull the layers back like that fresh onion. If I'm Trevor Lawrence, I'm like, Thank you, God. Matter of fact, let me go to church 3 times a week because he got hooked up. Because ain't no way you're gonna convince me that the Jacksonville Jaguar job is worse than New York unless you're talking about, well, look at all the things you could do outside of football in New York. Okay, cool. Ask Odell Beckham how they work out for you, because he's a superstar. And then he fell right off the face of the earth as a football player because he wanted to be a model. He wanted to do this. He wanted to have this Nike deal. You know, I ain't mad at somebody getting their money, but it's one thing LeBron said. He says all the time, and Michael Jordan kind of confirmed it. The main thing is the main thing, meaning whatever brought you to the party and gave you all this extra stuff, you have to make sure you stay at that party. Yeah, I understand it's a little easier for basketball players maybe than football players, but still, you have to stay focused on the main thing. I think New York is an area where it's very easy to stray away from that because there's so much going on in New York. So when you coming in with a guy with all the hype in the world like Trevor Lawrence, yo, my man been hyped up since a junior in high school. He came to Clemson. I was ready for him to part the Red Sea because that's how bad they was hyping him up. So, of course, now he gets to go to little, lonely old Jacksonville where he's the biggest fish in a small pond pretty much because they're going to wrap everything around him. Lord knows he get him to the playoffs. You know what's coming. The statues, the banner, and 2 new pools. So, listen, at the end of the day, I think it's a win-win for Trevor Lawrence. I think it's a win for Jacksonville. And then I think it's a win for whoever the oncoming coach. And, you know, just like Jay said, I do think they're going to get a new offensive minded coach. I wouldn't be mad if it was Eric B. I wouldn't be mad. I just think with this guy coming straight from college, they will go get someone that relates more to college. Just what makes sense to me. But we'll see. But, hey, you know, Trevor Lawrence, I see you, baby. I know you have in Jacksonville got that. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, we see what they don't and say what they want. I'm out, baby.
I'll tell you who's happy about it. I'm happy about it. I grinned like an idiot all day Saturday afternoon and evening. I literally just sat there and grinned like a moron for like an hour. I'm not even kidding you. I can tell you what he means to the city, but I wanted to start with the coach thing real quick because that's a good point, you know, because there's been a lot of talk about the Urban Meyer talk. Now I haven't heard Dan Mullen as much. I would wonder if he'd be leaving Florida yet. But you're right. That's kind of a conversation in LA. But I've heard that sentiment. A lot of coaches are saying, look, this whole image and likeness thing, the transfer portal, I mean, they got to work as hard to keep guys as they do to get guys anymore. You're going to see some of these bigger coaches in college maybe make more leaps to the NFL more than you've seen. So, I mean, I know he's an X's and O's guys. And I think that's what Urban Meyer is at, is he might want to come back for his dream job, like Notre Dame or something in college. But I don't think he likes all the other stuff that comes with it. He just wants to coach football. He wants to get his players and he wants to coach them. Well, obviously there's the NFL for you. I don't know if you would be wanting to, it would require giving him a big, huge, like control, like almost a Bill Belichick type role. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. But I can tell you, you know, as someone who's watched every snap of this team for a long time now, he would be the second best quarterback in the history of the team before his plane landed. I mean, the only guy they've ever had is Mark Brunell, and he was a solid guy. He was a solid guy on some really good teams that didn't do much anything without him. I literally heard him on the radio literally say that out of his own mouth. I mean, don't take my word for it. But if you look at the whole history of the franchise, they've never had a superstar. There's never been a guy that put the team on the map. They've had a couple good teams. I mean, the late 90s, they got really good really fast. The Morton Anderson mess, them in the playoffs. And then, you know, if it wasn't for the Titans, they probably went to a Super Bowl like 3 or 4 years in. But, I mean, their best player is Tony Baselli. He might get in the Hall of Fame, maybe. I mean, Fred Taylor is the biggest name they've ever had. But even in college, Fred Taylor was more behind Warfel and Spurrier on those Florida teams. I mean, they've never landed anyone near Trevor Lawrence. I mean, ever. And I know with the hype Trevor Lawrence gets, I mean, you're right, Drink. I mean, a lot of people think this started in Clemson. This started in like quarterback camps and like in freshman of high school. I mean, this guy has been talked about by scouts and talent evaluators since day one. I mean, he is basically on like LeBron's trajectory. I don't know if he can be that guy. That's a hell of a mountain to put him on. But when you're talking about that kind of a prospect, I mean, there's not many franchises that have had a chance. I mean, you're talking about Elways and Mannings and Lux. You know, that's the level we talk about. But I can tell you this: like a lot of people clown Jacksonville, and you're absolutely right. They've been atrocious for 10 to 15 years. I mean, they have had one winning season since 2007. But I can tell you that This team, I mean, has nice weather, has super. I mean, you're talking about weather. Well, how about the taxes and the money? I mean, that contract goes a lot further down here. You can buy an entire golf course down here for what that studio apartment would be in New York. So, chew on that for me. But they have the roster is not talented, but it is very young. It's a very easy roster to sculpt however you want to make it. They have 2 first-round picks, and if the Rams miss the playoffs, you get 2 pretty good first-round picks. You've got another higher pick from the Vikings coming up in this draft as well. You're going in with the most salary cap space, the youngest roster. The offense already kind of has something coming together with DJ Chark and James Robinson, Laviska Shenault. The offensive line isn't as bad as people think. The tackles maybe are questionable. You might not want to pay Cam Robinson, but the offense is already kind of there, and we all know that it's easier to build a defense than it is to build an offense. So if you can get the right guys in, you make the right decisions, man, I think he can get in a really good situation here. I really think he could be the reason this franchise is still here in 5 or 10 years. I really think that's how important he is. I mean, would he be big for the Jets too? Of course he would. He'd be good for almost any franchise. It's not like the Chiefs, basically. I mean, that's the only team that wouldn't want him right now. But he's going to mean so much to this city. And I think in the NFL, you want all your teams to be good at some point. It's not fun to have a team or two that just always sucks and is never any good, So I think he can get in a good situation, but the team, they've got to make the right hires around him. And Shad Khan to this date hasn't done that, but maybe he's ready for a change. And let's hope so, because if they don't put the right situation around him, he's only going to be so good. So we'll see what they do. But hey, they got the first pick, which has never happened before in the history of the franchise. So see what they do with it.